everything work as it should. And hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Hi, my name's Tim Brennan, and also with us today is Jan Vanderhoop, and of course, you know us as Fit First, and sometimes you know us as other names as Talent Sorter or Jobtimize or Hiring Smart. But we are Tim and Jan, and we're going to be here to help talk today about our theme around making introductions with as referral partners to us here and the way we work together. So thank you for joining us. What I would like to do to start out is I really want to make our theme today being that the conversations that we have with prospects and clients together always really start about talking about the problem. You know, it doesn't happen when we're talking about the tools. It always starts with understanding what is it that they are struggling with and what they want to accomplish. And what is it that our contacts want from us these days? Well, they're looking for noticeable improvements in their business. They're looking for productivity and the improved, the turnover. They're looking for reduce of lost time and absenteeism. We have conversations around they're trying to reorganize their team so they have decreased overtime expenses, or in the manufacturing facilities, the reason we end up talking with people is because they tell us that they really want to have fewer accidents, or they're looking for faster onboarding. Uh, Common as well as I'm looking for people who are going to have a stronger engagement with what we're doing. A second bucket of items and reasons why people want to talk to us together is they want to have happier customers. They've got customers that they want to have them receive better quality service. They want to see the customer loyalty go up. They want to get fewer customer complaints coming back to them on their desk. And what's important to all of us right now is better online reviews and a stronger referrals, because after all, I guess it's even one of the reasons why we're talking today is because we know that the best way to grow business and grow business together is through referrals. There's a third bucket as well that comes up in the talk conversations that we have when we're meeting with people and introducing ourselves to them with you, and that is they're looking for an increased ROI in their business. They just want things to run smoother. They want to see less waste and friction. They're looking for people who are going to stay longer, perform better, and they want to see their cost of their people managed, and they want to see a noticeable improvement to their bottom line. So these are problem solutions. So when we're having conversations with people that we want to introduce, you would like us to meet, and we would like to meet with you as part of our program, what we really are looking for is to answer three big questions. So I want you to think of these, and I know we've talked with many of you, we've talked about these things many times, but today I really wanted to just to really get this down and so that you can remember about what it is we're looking for. The first question of the three qualifying questions for what is a really valid qualified referral for us is, do they admit they have a problem? It's not about the tools. It's not about what it is we do. It's about them. This is what it kind of sounds like. The the ones we hear the most, hiring people, they turn out not to be the person who they thought they would be. Then there's the other, hired them, they trained them, and then they left. That's probably going to be the most expensive hire that people have had. And can't find enough anyone to hire, enough people to hire, so they take whatever they can find, and they've lowered their bar of what is acceptable to represent their brand. And that's on the hiring side. On the other side that we also hear is that, I just don't have the right people in the right jobs. I want to be a better manager of my people. They're looking for self-improvement for themselves from a professional side. They're looking for a leg up on how to best work with their own people. And just yesterday, I was on a conversation with an introduction where this organization's going through a lot of growth, and they're looking right now at trying to understand is who do they need to bring in into their business to help them with getting the right people to grow with them. Now, I want you to think of the first question as being like a gate you have to get through, because if they don't admit they have a problem, then there's not much of a reason for us to have a conversation together with them. The most important piece of our conversation is having that talk with them about what is the problem that we want to solve and what will be different in their business when we solve that problem. If we get through this question, we can go to the second question. And the second question is, are they prepared to do something that they've not done before? The answer can't be that they need to do more of what they're currently doing. That's why we ask this question, because sure, they can admit they have a problem, but also what happens is we get stopped together when we get to a wall where they say, yeah, I know I've got a problem with this. What I just need to do is go back and actually do it the way I should do it. I should do more of it. I just have to do it better than I was doing it before. I have to do it faster. I have to do it slower. The key piece to this is, are they prepared to do something they've not done before? So the questions that we're having with them, the conversation is, what have they done in the past? What's worked, what's not worked? That's great information to help us understand if they're ready to do something they haven't done before. And have they ever used assessment tools before? And if so, are they still using them? If not, why aren't they still using them? It's always helpful to understand where they're going to hear us talking from what their personal experience had been. And that becomes a second gate. So the first gate is, do they admit they have a problem? If we can get through that door, then we can get to the next one. Are they prepared to do something they have never done before? And if the answer is yes and yes, we can go to the third problem, the third question. And the third question is, do they have access to the budget and the decision-making authority to move forward? Is this the person who can make the decision to do something, or do they need to have? Do we have to get them along with someone else involved in the conversations as we go? It happens, and it sounds a lot like this. You've got someone that says, oh my gosh, my company really needs this stuff. It needs to fix this problem. And they really want, and this company. But when we go and then talk to the person who is the person who has the ability to make the authority to move forward, they don't think they have a problem. Interesting, isn't it, how we always get tripped up by that first one? That it always comes back to the first question. So if we're not dealing with the person who has access to the budget, the decision-making authority to move forward, then we need to get to that person, and we need to go back to question one and find out if they admit they have a problem. Together, if we have to sell them on it, it's going to be a much, much more difficult process and a much longer process for both of us. Now, this isn't just about our company. This isn't just about Fit First. But this is also, I truly believe this is what can really help you in your business as well. If you're dealing with your prospects and you're dealing with your existing clients and having the conversations about what problems they're having, what's keeping them up at night, all those pieces can be so important to helping you build the relationship. But also what we're trying to do here is really nail down for it the why. Why are they going to be using our services, and why do they want to have us come together? So let me, okay. When we get together and we're talking about what the problem can solve, it doesn't matter to us at this point in the conversation where we start. Yes, we have a suite of tools and we have different products to help in different situations. Positioning, though, the conversation that we think we should meet and the three of us should connect together for a conversation and make that referral to Fit First, it doesn't have to be about a specific tool. It happens often. You'll be telling me in advance before we're going to have a call, yeah, these people I really should be looking at Talent Sorter. And when we look at Talent Sorter, and start having the conversation with them, we find out that the real solution for them is probably going to be on the maybe the Profile XT, or it might be that they need to be looking at the leadership pieces. So lots of different. I'm getting a little noise in the background. I just don't know if someone's not on mute.
Oh, sorry, Tim.
All right, thanks. So when we're having, so just to recap, when we're having the conversation there with our prospect, don't worry about being a subject matter expert on the tool. It's not that important. And the reason we really want to be talking to them again, it's because we want to be focused on the why are we going to work with them. You know, remembering what are the improvements they want in their business, what are they looking for to see a difference with their customers, and what are they seeing in their ROI. Now, Jan's with us today, and he's going to share with us a case study with some results to give you an example of what that looks like when we do have that conversation. And then afterwards, I'm going to talk about how we can make those introductions.
Thanks, Tim. Hi, everybody. You know, it's interesting. So opportunities don't often look the same. So let me give you an example. I mean, I think the three questions that Tim laid out are absolutely critically important. And, you know, if somebody doesn't know they have a problem, you're wasting your time with them. If they think they have a problem, but they really haven't taken the time to quantify it so they understand the cost of doing nothing, it's going to be a bit of an impediment in the conversation until they're really clear that not doing anything is going to cost them more than they want to be paying. But sometimes off-the-wall opportunities come our way that if you don't have them on your mind as ways that we've configured or applied our products in different organizations, sometimes you might be missing opportunities to make an introduction. So this example in particular is the Ontario Electrical League, which is an association that represents electrical contractors across the province. They had been given some money by the province late last year, as well as a little bit of federal money, to essentially blow up the age-old approach to apprenticeship in the province. And the cost of doing nothing was high. They had several huge problems. One was they were having a tough time attracting people into the trade. They were missing, you know, it wasn't a very diverse group that they were bringing in. So there was a numbers issue and a diversity issue. And because it's a 5-year program in Ontario, it's a long one, they had fallout. And you'd expect some fallout after the first year or into the second year, maybe as people figure out that this really isn't so much for them. But you wouldn't expect that they'd still be having fallout at the third year and the fourth year and right up close to the finish line, which they were doing. So they weren't getting enough people in. They were graduating far fewer than they could afford to have continue. And so they had us build them. Actually, they were our very first customers in Jobtimize, which you might remember we spoke about in our last call, which is a matching engine that has really been built for 3 stakeholder groups instead of just employers. In Jobtimize, what we've done is create a space for employers, also for job seekers to go in and sort of do some career navigation, that sort of thing. And then we built some tools for people who we just loosely refer to as intermediaries in that process. So people who'd be working with individuals to help them find their way, or employers to find the right individuals, or both. And so they had us build some filters into the system for them that were designed specifically to screen in people who were applying for electrical apprenticeship, who were hardier, you know, had higher level of tenacity than, and that were going to likely be able to survive the 5 years of the apprenticeship program. That was critical for them. We also wanted to make sure that the people they were admitting into the program had a high fit score, high degree of compatibility with at least one of the 5 flavors, if you like, of electrical jobs that are out there. And we know from experience that somebody who's going to be happy and productive stringing wires in a new residential development is going to be very different than somebody who's doing industrial or commercial electrician work or working the power lines. So number one was tenacity. Number two was making sure that they're a strong fit for positions on the back end. And as you see here on the screen, they were hopeful that somehow we'd be able to help them diversify the workforce a little bit. When I sat down with the president of the OEL a few weeks back, he was really excited to share a couple of statistics with me, Tim. So if you don't mind sort of advancing. Two things. One, 8 months in, they're running about 200% of their hiring objectives, which has him and the province hugely excited. The other statistic is the one that's up on the screen here, which is without really trying too hard, they've realized that 24% of the people they've hired come from those pools that have typically faced barriers to entry in the electrical trades. And Tim, if you can advance it for a second, I mean, that was the really interesting part of the conversation with Stephen, because they had plans initially to do outreach into those communities, to be more proactive, if you like, to make sure that they were getting traffic from the four categories that you see there. And yet, you know, they're running 24% without having really started any of those outreach activities. And Stephen's point is, you know, what we've discovered here, because he like us, he's worked in many corporations where they've had diversity targets, and you know, it never works quite well when you know you've got to go out and hire somebody who's disabled, or you know, you've got to you know, hire an indigenous person or whatever it is in order to hit your targets. Everybody knows you're sort of pooching the system to hit the numbers. You're not really looking for the right person necessarily. But what he's saying here is, you know, when you allow the algorithms to screen people for compatibility first, it's going to serve up an entirely different cross-section of people for you to look at. So keeping the humans out of it first, letting the algorithms do the initial screen, lets all of the barriers and the labels that, you know, sometimes we put consciously or unconsciously on a candidate when we're looking at the resume just sort of fall aside. And when you allow it to, this diversity thing just looks after itself. And it's a natural outcome of screening for compatibility first. So, you know, I'd tell you with confidence that a year ago, it would have never occurred to us to add the words diversity and inclusion to the list of clues that might show up in a conversation that could indicate we should be having a conversation with the organization. We'd never have triggered that D&I would be something for us to look at as a way into the conversation. I'll guarantee you, every one of you is working with organizations where diversity is an issue, where inclusion is an issue, and you know, when the moment's right, it might be an opportunity to talk about fit first rather than resume first as a way to address the diversity issue. Next slide is more straightforward. It's simpler because I have less information at this stage. But one of the big initiatives that we're seeing, especially in the U.S., and it's been driven by SHRM mostly, is you know, finding ways to include returning citizens, people that are being released from jail into the workforce. And so we've been working with a halfway house in Ohio for the last year or so, as they started using some of the early versions of Doptimize, and we're just moving them into the platform now. The one tidbit of news that I can share with you at this stage is, for the first time in their history, Tim, if you could advance this, please, the career planning report that they're using and the matching of people to jobs that the system offers has actually helped them place 100% of their clients for the first time in their history. They've never hit those numbers. And so we'll get more information about that over time, because obviously we want to be tracking retention rates, but with the huge push on bringing returning citizens into the workforce as a way to help ensure that they're not going to reoffend and end back in jail. We're really excited to be able to tell this story, and there'll be more to come. So that's it for me, Tim. I think let me hand it over to you to wrap up.
All right. Well, thank you, Jan. And there are just story after story right now. And what we're going to do is be making an effort on our webpage for you at fitfirsttech.com/partner resources. We'll be posting all the information there, and you can find some case studies there of people we have worked with, and you're going to see us adding more and more as we go. Last little bit for today is to talk about making that introduction. What we have seen work well, and I know looking at some of the people who are here on the call today, this seems to be one of the most popular ways to make the introduction, and I just simply call it the virtual introduction email. And what the virtual introduction email looks like, it's a, hi, Tim meet Dave, Dave meet Tim. This is how I know Tim, this is how I know Dave. I'd like to connect the two of you together. And that's really all it takes is to say that we would like to make the introduction and share a little insight in there around why you think the two of us should meet. That virtual introduction, that gets a follow-up from us. Typically, I know a lot of them, you will send them to me. Jan, you'll have some as well that probably go to you as well. But when you send them to me and to Jan, we always hit reply all. The response will be, thank you so much for the introduction and hello, Dave. And looking forward to connecting with you to learn more about what your challenge is and what your business and what you're trying to accomplish. Again, we're going to focus to talking about wanting to learn and understand about the problem. And we're going to be looking for a time to be able to have a more formal conversation. We really don't want to get into the conversation back and forth in email. So that's a wonderful way to be involved. Now, doing an introductory phone call as well plays into this, is that if you want to be more involved with the relationship and want to be working and standing there and sitting on the same side of the table with your prospect or with your client, that you're going to be part of the process, and it may be a client that you're currently working with, and you want to bring us into part of the project that you're working on, then there's also the introductory phone call where we could set up a time and we can dial in together, and you and your contact can meet with us and we can have the conversation, the three of us. And again, it really is your choice about how much you want to be involved. And I know some of you very much have things you're doing, and you introduce us in, and you just want us to be your subject matter expert to talk about tools because your business is about something else. And sometimes the work we're doing is very important to the total picture of what you're doing with that client. And it may make an awful lot of sense for us to be working through together. In any of the cases, the opportunities are always there for us to try out an assessment. We really find that the best way to help people understand what kind of data they're going to get, what type of information about their people they're going to get, is when they can actually see the data on somebody they know. And that's always going to be a very quick early step in the process. It's not so much about giving them the tool to use for free, it's about giving them the opportunity to get a taste of a flavor to what it's all about. And that always then leads us to really understanding too is, what are they going to do with the information? So after the introduction, we're very much trying to understand what problem we're going to solve, trying to get a feel for what is the information that's going to be useful. And the most important part of this is, what information about data and people data are we going to give them, and they're actually going to use it and do something with it. The biggest challenge is always reminding people that information is just information. It doesn't do anything. People have to do stuff with the information, which is why it goes all back to the beginning of those three questions. If the person doesn't admit they have a problem, and they're not prepared to do something that they haven't done before, and they don't have access to the budget, it's really hard to get them to be engaged and move forward to get accomplished and get actual results from the work we're doing. But please remember, you can choose to be involved, or you can make the introductions and let us take it from there. It's your client. Our role here is to support what you'd like to get done with that client. And if you'd like to hand them over to us and have us take care of it all, more than happy to do that. If you want to be involved with it, please let's make sure that we have you involved with where you want to be involved. So that's it for today. We are trying to keep this to the theme. I hope you found this has been helpful. I'm going to be posting this on our partner resources page shortly. So again, remembering that page, it's fitfirsttech.com/partner resources. Please go and visit often. You certainly know that I'll be reminding you of time and time again to go there. You'll find lots of information, sample reports. You'll find case studies, marketing materials as well. And I'm going to be adding more and more material for you to help now after this call. I'm going to be adding some resources there to help you with making introductions and referrals with checklists on what to listen for. So thank you again for joining us today. Jan, thanks for joining us, and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.